Transforming your life with hypnotherapy just got easier with your host, Julie from coachinghypnosis.net.
There comes a moment in any struggle when hope feels like a distant memory. For me, that moment was suffocating. Days blurred into nights. Each attempt at healing seemed to fail. I felt trapped inside a body that betrayed me and a mind that wouldn't stop judging me. I asked myself, will I ever feel normal again? Will I ever wake up with energy? Will I ever run? It was hard to even imagine a future where I felt well, capable or whole. Despair became my constant companion. At sunrise, I would force myself to try hatha yoga. That often meant standing with my back against the wall, leaning backwards, holding onto my bed or wardrobe mirror just to balance. I skipped some poses, made others up, did nearly all of them incorrectly. What I loved about hatha yoga was that so many exercises are done on the floor, but even those I struggled through. I'd turn on the heater to make myself sweat just to feel alive. It wasn't graceful or proper yoga, but it was still movement, and that counted. My worst and best thoughts collided during those mornings. I told myself, I need to get better so I can start a family. Hurry up, detox, heal. In many ways, it felt like a slow genocide, like my life was slipping away, one cell at a time, while everyone else moved on. Friends would come round and show me their newborns, and it didn't feel like kindness. It felt like salt in the wound. The calls for help became my lifeline. I rang poison control. I rang 000 when my heart pounded so hard, I was sure I was about to drop dead. Once I even called an ambulance because I truly believed I was being electrocuted or tasered by a floating electrical ghost. And in that moment, I felt a ghost of a bat fly over me, a huge rush of energy that felt like I was being electrocuted, and it hurt so much for like 30 seconds. I was convinced I was having a heart attack. One day I was sitting there and I remembered that the area I live in once had weapons testing decades ago. I imagined massive guns and heavy artillery, not something like a taser. Then it came back to me. During my training in clinical hypnosis and strategic psychotherapy, a woman who served in the Defense Force once mentioned those tests. The fear of invisible harm felt so real in my body that I couldn't tell what was paranoia and what might be genuine danger. In the end, I even called the British Embassy. I'm Australian, but I'm also a British citizen, because I needed to know if anything was happening. My boyfriend and my friends called too, doctors, specialists, even strangers trying to advocate for me when I couldn't. They weren't acting out of panic, but out of love. They genuinely wanted to understand what was happening to my body and to find someone who could explain it. People around me offered ideas, trying to make sense of the chaos. Some mentioned drones pointing at the sky and wondering aloud if technology could harm or track people. Others speculated about computer chips or energy weapons. One person even told me they knew someone who believed they had a computer chip implanted in their testicles. And others would say, I knew someone who had mental problems once, as if that might somehow explain what was happening to me. They weren't trying to spread fear. They were grasping for explanations just like I was. Even when they questioned things like metal poisoning, it came from confusion, not delusion. Their uncertainty mirrored my own, and it deepened my sense of being in a situation no one fully understood. Despite everything, I tried to reclaim pieces of my life. Once I regained some movement, I started driving again. Though I still needed a walking stick, my aunt suggested using an umbrella instead, and that simple change gave me freedom. I could walk in rain, hail or sunshine, excited by each small journey. When people said the train station was a 45-minute walk away, I thought, great, I can do that. But even as I pushed, there were moments I truly thought I might die. This was my last chance to get better, so I travelled. I drove to Victoria to see my mum, who hadn't seen me in years and was shocked to see me with a walking stick. Then to Perth to see friends who were also shocked, but kind. I even had a beer with them, like a small act of defiance. Then to Broome to walk along Cable Beach and to fast, hoping the sun, the beach and travel and socialising might heal me. It didn't. I came back to Sydney with less money and no real change. A friend of mine asked me to visit them in Queensland, trying to cheer me up. That's when I realised I would love to practice talking all day. Maybe a sales job, talk on the phone all day, feel connected, rebuild myself. Even small goals like that became my way to keep the spark alive. Lesson: hopelessness is natural, but it's also temporary. Even in the darkest times, the tiniest shift, a thought, a sensation, a breath, a small plan for the future can begin to spark change. You don't have to leap. Sometimes it's enough to whisper to yourself, I'm still here. Close your eyes. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Picture a tiny ember glowing inside you, small, fragile, but alive. Even when everything seems lost, this ember can ignite. Trust it. Nurture it. It only needs a little air to grow. Tomorrow, we confront the inner critic, that relentless voice questioning your every move. Mindfully yours, Julie.